Hello, this is Barbara Howenstein. Welcome to my channel. Today I'll be making the welcome card for the Index Card a Day Challenge for 2020. This is my 6th year doing this challenge. It is a long video, I'll warn you. I do a lot of drawing in it and it just takes time. If you'd like to, you can adjust the speed settings and speed it up, or you can put it on and just watch away. Okay, so I'll start with the supplies first. And that is a pretty in-depth explanation. I also have a list at the end and a very in-depth list underneath this video so that you can get something similar. Don't go out and buy anything new, and you certainly don't need everything, but it is the things that I use in here. It's a list of that. Thank you very much. Stand by. Got the index cards. We're going to use them. We will be using a template. I dug this out. I had a polymer clay template with circles, and they're measured, which helps me remember which one was which one I used in case I want to be that much of a perfectionist. I used some little cutting scissors, a pencil, and this pencil is a Pentel, happens to be a Pentel Twist Erase mechanical pencil, and it's probably 0.9 millimeter. It looks like the lead. I like the one that doesn't break on me. I have a heavy hand, so I'll be using that. I'll be using a Pentel water brush, and I'll be darned if I can find what size this is. It's probably like medium. I just don't see it on there. I feel really dumb, but I don't see it. Anyway, be using that water brush because I'll also be using some watercolor pencils, and these ones I'll be using are the Caran d'Ache. I just love them. They're called Supra. They're wonderful, wonderful pencils, watercolor pencils. I'll also be using my Micron 01 pen, and that's a technical pen. It's a disposable technical pen. I like the 01. I may use the 003, which is an even smaller point. You can see I keep a little piece of tape on there so I can tell that's my 003, but this is great for giving different line widths. So these are my two favorite sizes, and of course you can use the sizes up or down if you want. I have many different ones, just happen to like these the best. Then I'll also be using some probably this little lettering guide. So as you can see, I really like templates. I really like templates a lot. Templates give me a guide. I know I'm a terrible perfectionist, but I just love to try and make my art look a little more symmetrical. Makes me feel better. Sometimes I go for a wacky look, and sometimes I go for, at least I want the lines straight. If I want them jagged, I'll make them really jagged, but typically I want them straight. So using that, I may also use this little protractor you can pick up at the drugstore. In fact, I may have had this since high school. Who knows? Been in the house a long time. So those are the templates that I'm thinking of using. And since I've got them, I'll probably use this 1/2 inch hole punch as well as this 1 inch hole punch. Or you can just cut freehand if you want to do that. And this will be cutting out of some like dictionary book. I got some old German. It looks like a hymnal probably. And I decided to cut it up because it was starting to disintegrate. And I thought, well, it's either going to disintegrate or my kids will throw it away someday when I'm gone, or I could use it. So I'm going to do that. And so these are just some samples of some scrap paper. You could use newspaper if you want, and I have, and it works just fine as well. I have a little ruler that always just gets away from me. And right now, I think it has gotten away from me. So I'm going to have to locate that. But I may use this little paintbrush here, possibly. I don't know. But just any little paintbrush will be good. And then some tweezers to handle the paper. If it gets to be difficult to handle, a Mono Tombow monoplastic eraser works real well on the cardstock. Some Craft Bond glue extra strength glue stick is fabuli. So those are our tools, and possibly some gesso. Any gesso is fine. I just happen to have the heavy gesso pulled out. And you could easily use white paint too. That's to actually go over the writing on the paper and make sure it's not doesn't stand out too much. I just don't want it to really stand out too much. So those are the things that we're looking at. It is so funny. I have such a hard time with that, keeping that little ruler I have. It's a clear little ruler. And also I put my pens, or my this is my watercolor pencils. I keep them in a case like this. I love to keep them in this, and I keep them by color so that I know what's missing. I know where it goes. And again, it's probably a control thing, but I like it. So the only thing I'm lacking is probably the most important piece. And since I can't find the little one right now, I'm going to use the bigger one. I stepped away if my voice sounds like I'm far away, but here I am again. And this is happens to be a Tim Holtz ruler, but you could use a just a school ruler, wooden ruler, metal ruler, anything like that'll work. So those are the things that I'm planning to do today. And in the end, we're going to come up with a little welcome card. And the welcome card is for ICAD, Index Card a Day, for the Creative Challenge. Alrighty, so let's get right to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move this wonderful stuff out of the way, and I'm going to look at what I've already drawn in Procreate, in this app called Procreate. And I'll be selecting an index card. There it is. Putting things aside. Hopefully I won't lose them since they can't go too far, I don't think. Okay. So, and I've got my trusty little kitty tea. Gotta have that. It's just green tea. Nothing fancy. Okay. So, with the iPad, first thing to do is to locate Procreate app. There it is. And I keep my my art in categories like this, alphabetically. And then each one has it's my art, and each one has a cover. And then it has some of my art. So you can see what I'm kind of working on right now. Not done with it, but working on it. Okay, so I need to look for ICAD first. ICAD 2020, that's where we are. And this one is my welcome card. It looks like it's pure white, but here's the magic. Layers are up at the top, and you tap them. Oh my gosh, and now I need my, I probably don't need it. I'm going to try to do this without my pencil. Let's see if I need it or not. Oh, can you see I have all these layers? The top ones are all, you can see they say ICAD 2020, and they go on the flagstone. I'm trying to show this is for ICAD. So for now, what I'm going to do is show you, here's layer 1, and that was my original sketch. And it looks kind of grayed out because I have grayed it out and then made a new layer on top of it. So there's the final layer. I also colored it up a little bit to give myself an idea of what I wanted to do. But as you can see, the easiest way to do this was to measure. So it's got 3 layers that are all, undo them again. There's the first layer, and that is the sketch I made with my Apple Pencil. Made it in a black, but if you look at that particular layer, there's things you can do with the layer, as you see here. And I just took this, let's see, let's get in the right ones. I don't want that one. I want layer 1. And if you look at it, there, see the opacity there? I've pulled that from 100% all the way way down so that it will be kind of hidden and easy for me to trace over when I make my more final version of the sketch. So from that I made this layer, and that's the one we're going to use as the guide. Okay, oh, and it looks like there's some things that are missing over here, and they probably are on the one underneath, and you can see I didn't quite finish it, but it's fine. It's just, this is just a sketch, and that's all I'm using Procreate for. I won't be printing this or anything else. It's just a guideline. Take my little index card, and I'm taking a pencil. And so the first thing I do is, and this helps me a lot, is I'm actually going to make it, and you can take it with your hands and make it whatever size you want. So it's easier for me to see the size on the little ruler here. But if I make it a 4x6, and so we just bring it, stretch it to where it's, I have a cover, a screen cover on mine so I don't scratch it. It's called Paper-Like, and it makes it very much like paper when you draw on it. Okay, so this is 6 inches. So bet anything this is going to be, yep, about 4 inches. So this gives us a good guide for measuring things and getting them in just the right, approximately in the right measurements. Okay, so we take our index card, and I will push this over a touch. Sorry for that glare. Boy, that's probably too dark, hard to say. Let me put the iPad down a little bit so it's not glaring right on it. But we'll start, first of all, I like to look at the middle. And so the middle of my index card would be, if it's 4 across, you want to be right around 2 inches in the middle. So I make 1 mark, and 2 points will make a straight line. So here we go, like that. I'm just going to lightly make a line, and I'll probably use the Tim Holtz ruler. It's got these cross lines which will tell you pretty much, if you're straight. You can see how I put them right on the top of the index card, okay, and on the bottom. So I'm just lightly making a line. Then I want to know where the sides are. So I'm going to see how wide these houses are. And the houses that I've got stacked up, they're anywhere from 1/2 inch to 1 inch. So I'm just going to take my ruler, and I'm going to take the 1/2 inch line and just make some marks where 1/2 inch on each side. So to do that, this has a nice little 1/2 inch line there, 1/2 inch down one side, and then 1/2 inch down the other. And you'll see what I mean about erasers. That's why if I have this all sketched out, I have a lot less problem with erasing so much that I destroy the index card, which is what I'm trying to accomplish. Even though, our Tammy will tell you, this is not, it's not serious. I mean, this is just for fun. It's for play, but I still like to get them as close as I can. So now I'm going to measure about, I'll start with the bottom, and let's see how high, how do I want this line? It's about 1/2 inch. Okay, so I'm going to start here by making a 1/2 inch at the bottom, and that's going to be where our flagstone goes. And then on the flagstone, I'm going to write ICAD 2020. All right, so we're already moving right along here. There. Now, let's look at the houses. So the houses, I want them to stop right about here. I just don't want them to go past that, because when I make copies of it, whatever, and the card warps, it's a real mess. So I've got 4 of them. And I'm going to start with the first one. It is about 1 inch. So I will look at about 1 inch and just make a little line. Just make a little line. Okay, that's going to be the first one. Each one will probably be, looks like that next one from the roof is going to be, well, let's look at the roof. The roof is about 1/2 inch. So I'm measuring over here. I'm doing 1/2 inch. I'm just making a mark. Since that's the center, I can make a little sort of a curve for the roof. That'll be the roof. And then I'm going to start in with a second house. And the second house is going to be 1/2 inch from the top, see, from here to the bottom of its roof. It's going to be about 1/2. So I'm just making a line so I know where its roof is going to come. And then I'm making a haphazard couple of lines here. It's a bit wonky. That's okay. Make it somewhat round. Here's where you can use the protractor if you were really desperate to have everything perfect. But I would use it with the ink because, you know, you're going to be going over this with ink, so you don't need to do everything perfect in the pencil. Okay, now if I look at that roof, I think I want that roof to be also about 1/2 inch. I'm going to try and make this a little smaller than that. Okay, and there, make that roof. And then the next thing is to make that kind of slanty looking house here. That's fun. And so on one side, it is almost an inch. Almost, like 3/4 of an inch. So I know it's going to slant up. Just guessing there. And then on the other side, it's going to be maybe, I'm going to make it an inch. And just, again, this is supposed to be kind of wonky. Make it a little more right about there. And then, guessing, I'm just going to chop it off. Chop it off. Okay. So now I'm on house number 4, and I'm doing pretty good. I've got enough room. That's what I'm most concerned about. So you can wing this at any time, and since I've got plenty of room, I am going to wing it. And so I'm just drawing, again, haphazardly. And this one's going to be that type of house. Okay, so we've got our houses sketched out. And the next thing we want to do is then look at the mushrooms on the sides. And so I would measure the sides. Now this, if you've noticed, this video is not about how to draw using Procreate. And if you want me to do a video like that, I can certainly do it. Let me know if you're interested in that. There's a lot of people doing it, but if you want to see me do it with my art, I have no problem with that. I'd love to do it. Okay, so this tall mushroom here is almost, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 inches. So it starts at the end and it goes to the number 2. So let me do that on my index card, and I've got it starting right about here, going to the 2, and then at the top it's going to have that half bowl, sort of like a half bowl. So, and you'll notice I'm not doing it perfectly like it is in the drawing. That's okay. I'm making an oval at the top, and then the mushroom dome itself, like that. And so I don't need to make, you know, a perfectly good sketch there of what that's going to be, a perfectly good line. I'll be doing that with the ink, so I think that'll be fine. Okay, the next thing we have a flower over here. And so let me see about the flower. And you notice how I keep going back and forth between the rulers. It's just wherever I am is which one I want to use. So that looks like it's 2 3/4 from the bottom. So if I position the ruler so it's at 2 3/4 there. And then up here will be my little daisy. And I'll make the face for her. And I'm going to do the stem will be here. And I like them crossing over. That's just, I just love that. And then, of course, the petals going around will be like that. And like that. And I'll make faces in the end after I do the inked part. Okay, and then the next thing we have, again, is we have another mushroom. And so rather than even measuring, I'm just going to put this mushroom where I see an opportunity to have it, you know, where there's a space for it. So I'm drawing kind of a dome, and I'm just making it cross like that. And then I'm good with that side. I'll be making the houses here soon too, but for now this is what we've got. So we've got half of it done already. That's not too bad. Now for the other side, let's look at that. The first thing I want is, and this is where I'm going to use the circle. I'll see how big that I want that face to be, it looks like a 5/8 inch face, and she's right under where the roof is. So I'm going to pick it right in the middle, take my template, and just make a 5/8 inch circle, and that's ready to go. And then the mushroom dome is right under it. And if I measure that, that's 1 inch. So just, guessing there, it's going to be the biggest mushroom. And I try to keep away from the sides, away. So I have like maybe a 1/4 inch around the side there. Now I twist. And then the last thing I'm going to be making is another domey mushroom here. And it's going to have another oval. So this is also, the way I draw is thinking of shapes. Everything thinking of shapes, always. And the stem, like that. I have this lady here, this little sunflower, and she's coming down and interacting. So that's her. And then I've got her petals. And so I'm just going to sketch out, and that's the way I typically draw a flower. There's 4, I put 4 petals, and then I add in the others to make them kind of, similar to each other. And the only other thing I think I need to do is to add on the houses, but I may do that at the end. I may even be able to do that with just my ink pen. So now, and I go back and forth like this. And so I'm going to use the 01 micron pen. And I'm picking it up, try to move all this stuff so I have a little room. And here I go now. I am referencing, and that's the only thing, again, I'm using Procreate for today. Kitty says hi. So I'm going to start with the bottom. What I'm thinking of doing is lettering along the bottom and writing in there. I can always do an index card a day. So I think I'm going to write in there so that I save that room and don't mess it up by putting something over it. So let's see if I can write that. I can always do an index card a day. And then I'm putting dots in between because that gives it more of a whimsical flair. I'm a dot lover. And I don't know, that's pretty amazingly centered. I find that hard to believe that really centered that well, but it did. So I've got that all done. That's great. The flagstone down here, I'll be doing in pencil when I get a little further along, but not too much further. So now I'm going to go ahead and ink in these little guys. It's so strange drawing after using an app like Procreate because it does snap things to straighter lines, and it really helps you out from that perspective. So it's just a bit different from what I've been doing, but that's all right. This is good for me. Doing that. And I love this little flat house. I think that's so fun. So fun. Yep. And the other thing I was going to do before I got too far was make these eyes. So the eyes, I'm trying to make it so that I incorporate that line there and it doesn't look too out of place because since I made the line already. But of course this guy ended up looking at you instead of up, which is all right. This is one of my famous Barbie faces. They never come out the same. I could never repeat them. It just doesn't work. And then I'm making a chimney, wonky chimney. The eyes here, I'm going to have them like so. Kind of looking over there. And then I don't always put a lot of details in at this point, since I'll be using the eraser, because it will erase things away. So sometimes I get just the basics down and then I go ahead and erase. So I think I'll just finish off the rest of this. Plus, I don't want to lose too many viewers on this. I know this can be boring to some folks that like to see things at 100 miles an hour. But I like to watch people draw myself, so I hope you're okay with it. All right, so I've drawn the houses. I've got the basic shapes in. Now I'm going to do the basic shapes for these little items over here. Yeah, I do like having the pencil lines to at least give me some help, but I do not like the mess that they leave on the paper, chewing it up as they do. So I wonder if anyone else out there is doing iCAD. Maybe you can let me know in the comments and let me know what you think of, drawing during this crazy time we're in. I mean, are you enjoying it? Is it relaxing? Does it help you cope? It's, for me, it seems to be a little bit inhibitive sometimes with my creative process, unfortunately. I wish it wasn't, but I will admit that sometimes I get stopped up because of it. So, and you see, I'm just not a perfectionist when it comes to drawing. And a lot of things I will fix later. But for now, I just am trying to get some shapes in here. And then some of it, like, I don't see how I'm going to get anything on top of this mushroom. It won't be the same as it is in my original drawing, which is okay too. It's really okay. That's the fun about drawing. It does not have to be perfect. And I have a very lovely friend named Carolyn Doobie. She likes to do the oops. She calls it an oops. Outstanding opportunity presenting suddenly when you got a problem that crops up. And it does get your gray matter thinking, so I really like that. Okay, so I've got sort of the basics down, I believe. This guy missed this flower, so once I get the flower, I'm gonna make sure it's dry, although it dries very, very quickly. And then I will erase with that lovely little eraser that I got. And I can see this looks almost, it still looks crooked. See that? It's just a bit crooked. Yeah, that's all right. I don't think it's going to matter too much. But so nothing is ever going to be perfect. And sometimes I even get my little Barbie logo in there before I do much more, because if not, it'll get lost. Okay, so I think we're done with that process, and I'm still using this reference, and that's how I'm going to use Procreate. If I could, I would use Procreate and do the index cards, because I love the way Procreate gives me control. But the whole thing about doing this iCAD is to experiment, have fun, see what happens. So I'm going to do this set of index cards, and then I probably will use my sketches in Procreate and also do digital cards from them, but not for posting on Tammy's. She's got a Facebook group that is for this. It's specifically for this. And I mean, anyone can get a hold of her prompts at her daisyyellowart.com website. They're free, but if you want to participate in the group of a few people that she has, it's a paid group. It's not very expensive, but you have to abide by the rules. And one of the things is that it should not be digital. And it also is not to be like watercolor paper that you've cut into a 4x6 size or anything else. It's got to be index cards. So I just, I'm happy that I at least found some thicker ones, because I was disappointed the first year. This is going to be my 6th year. And when I first did them, boy, they do warp. But it was so fun experimenting. It really set me off on a very fun journey. And Tammy's like one of my very favorite artists. I only have maybe 3 or 4, but she's one of them. So I'm wiping the crumbs off. The eraser crumbs. And yeah, if I had done this, you know, normally I'd probably pencil out this saying, but I know this video is going to take a long time if I do all that. So it already is looking better. And I like this eraser, but you can see how it makes it a little bit lighter from that real nice black ink. So that's frustrating. I don't like that. And so now I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to add some details with the ink, and then I'll be using the watercolor pencils to do some coloring. Okay, so all right, so what else should we add? Oh, I know, and I think I'll add a little sun if I have enough room. I'm going to put a sun right about there, right about there, Sun. I went right in with the ink. I was very, very brave with that. I went right in with the ink. And now what I'm going to do is do that same kind of, it's almost like the petals, but it's not. It's rays of the sun. Rays. And if you can't get them in perfectly, get them in wherever you can. They're going to be behind the mushroom here. That's okay. So there's my sun. Not bad. I like it. The faces, oh geez, you know, that's another hard thing, is do you do the faces in pencil first, and then I'd started doing them on the buildings already. So I have a cheat sheet over here I'll show you, and I've already tried it once doing this method. So in the end, I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to start coloring that in, because you can see how I do this. I don't want to get too much deeper into it. It'll just take me forever. Be a very long video. Okay, so I think I'll stop with this. You see what the process was, and this one I think it'll turn out great. I'll be coloring both of them, but this one is done. So through the magic of videos and YouTube, I'm going to go ahead and color it. And so now I'm using Procreate to add in that layer where I've already done the watercolor pencils. So I'll take my little, here we go. And I think, just to make sure that you can see everything, I'm going to move the iPad away and start coloring. So I will start with my lightest color, and I just want you to see how I do it. I do not color each and every space when I'm using watercolor pencils. I just think that's I don't know, it's just not my style. So I just color around the lines in a very haphazard way. And the ink, the watercolor pencil, when it gets wet, it does carry. You know, that's just the way it does. Now, you see, I already did the little these bottom flagstones is what I'm calling them. So I'm going to color those. I'll probably use kind of a fleshy color. And the pencils do tend to come out a little bit darker when there's water. But so the problem with the iCAD Creative Challenge is that you do one a day. You're doing one card a day. You don't have a lot of time to be messing with it, and you don't have a lot of time to redo when you don't like things. And I have been known to, I probably redo about 3 or 4 every year. Now it goes from June 1st to July 31st, so it's 61 days. But I really enjoy it and just try to, do the best I can in getting them done. Now you can see here I'm making a little bit of a shadow wherever the lines are meeting. Oh, that's not a mushroom. Here we go. Here's a mushroom, and there's a mushroom. And so I'm just giving a little bit of a shading. Oops, and there again, that's the flower. That'll be all right. There's the flower there. That's okay. Now, do any of these houses need this color? No. No, no, no. They do not. And of course, as I'm doing this, I end up seeing pencil lines that drive me crazy, so I just keep going in and getting rid of them. Okay, and I used just a few very light pastel colors. I just, the way I pick them is there's no real rhyme or reason. Again, maybe there would be. It would depend on the prompt, and that's the other thing is I love the prompts. This house looks like a mushroom, so I think I'm going to make it to be colored like a mushroom because I didn't intend it, but it looks like an outstanding opportunity presenting suddenly. So I did that. I like the way that's going to be really fun. And then to make the tops of these mushrooms light colored but red at the same time. So I like to use the same color over several places. That's just a technique in art so that you bring cohesiveness to your art. And I by no means do fine art, but I do enjoy having things look somewhat presentable. I like things looking pretty. What can I say? It's always fun to me to see things looking pretty. And that's really why I do the art. I really do it because my first times that I drew this kind of stuff in high school, I did it because I loved to see the art colored. I wanted to color something, so I had to draw. And I learned to draw using the different media. And it's been a lot of fun on the way too. So, okay, I'm going to make the stem, and I'm using this darker green here. You see wherever it crosses things, that's where it seems like it's a shadow to me. So I'm just putting in a darker green. But I hope you're doing the iCAD Creative Challenge or some other. There's many of them. There's also the Inktober is another fabulously fun one that I really love a lot by Jake Parker, but it's typically in October, 31 days of October. However, because of this pandemic, I think he's trying to help get our minds off of it. So he ended up doing one called 52, Inktober 52, and it's one per week. So I get the email every week, just like everybody else does, and just search the internet for it. You can find it. Again, so now since I'm doing a little darker of a blue over this light blue, just to shade, but see, I do not go all over it. I just don't like to do that. Nope. Okay, let's make that top house yellow. Why not? And I think we'll make these yellow around here. There's some little houses and some of the mushrooms that are fun. So again, I'm just trying to get this done, and the way to do that is color. Don't take too long to think about it. And I'm going to put yellow over here just so that it highlights this little bitty. You see here, I couldn't even do it all on one line. I did it on 2 lines, and that was a lot of fun too. But yeah, I'd be interested to know what everybody is doing this year to keep busy. There's different people are doing different things. Hopefully you're enjoying your families. But I think homeschooling, oh my gosh, I don't know how anyone does homeschooling. Even if it's called digital, whatever it's being called, it's tough. I know. We've got some really darling little kids around here, and they're always out on their bikes after I think they do their studies, and they told me it was very difficult. And boy, I do believe them. I would think that's one of the hardest things you could do is to try to get your kids to do some schoolwork when they're at home, and it seems like summer to them. And it really is not summer. So you can see I'm sometimes mixing in different colors just to get them pushed around everywhere. I think that is perfectly fine. It's a lot of fun. I may even throw in, this is going to throw everybody for a loop. I'm going to put in a little bit of maybe some purple in a house here or there. Put in purple, get some smoke that may be purple. Again, remember my little rule, the Barbie rule, is to use color in more than one place. And so I just did that with the smoke. I'm thinking too, I'd like this house to have more green down at the bottom. And then down here at the bottom here, yes, it's going to be, there's going to be some green grass between. But I think I need to make some more. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'll leave those flagstones the way they are. So this is fun. You could color on your side. It probably makes a nicer stroke than seeing that pencil type stroke. But you know, I'm just not particular. The last video I did, somebody commented and said, "Oh, I like the way you color." Well, I color very simply, easily. I just don't worry about things too much. So I'm not trying to make it perfect. I'm going to make this one a little pinker. And then I'm going to start in with the watercolor to show you what it looks like, because I'm coming up here on 43 minutes for this video, which is pretty doggone long. Let me get a good red for the mushrooms, and then I'll do some watercolor, and then I'm going to stop, and I'll probably come back in at the end and just you know, show you what I've done at the very end. So at least you can see how I've got this started. And that was the biggest thing. Okay, all right. So now I need my water brush. There it is. Oh, this is absolutely my favorite part. So you just make sure that it's got the water coming out. And these water brushes are not very difficult. You just break them in two by unscrewing them. Put some water, pour some tap water in there, and then screw it together. And you can give it a squeeze, very slight squeeze, but basically the pressure on the paper is what turns it into a nice wet brush. So you see how quickly this works? It works really quickly. I love it. Oh, I forgot to tell you, you need a paper towel, most likely. Don't forget the paper towel. Okay, now watch what happens when I put these two colors together, how gorgeous. Look at that. And then I'll be coming in at the end. What I do at the end is I add more inked. I ink it again over the top of it. And that's my secret. I don't leave it with just the one inking. I like to have it be inked once as a foundation, you know, after the pencil. And then after that, I do the watercolor pencil. And then I come in at the end and add a few more details, because a lot of times they get kind of lost in they get muted by the watercolor pencils. So you could use many things for this. You can use markers, which I can make a video with markers. So again, let me know if you want to see those kinds of things. I haven't, I don't think, oh, I did make one video where I showed how to color a card, but it wasn't a very long video. So I'd love it too if you go to my blog and subscribe. So my blog is buzzybarbie.blogspot.com, and I'll put it in put a link down there in the bottom underneath the video as well. So you see, I'm almost done with this. It's so easy to do. So easy. Now for this guy. And then, as I said, I'm going to disappear off screen and do some details. This has been a challenge for me to get this video up. It seems weird to say that I'm busy, but it's actually my birthday. And this is one of the things I really love to do. So I've just insisted. I've been fighting against all the odds to get this done. I've been having packages delivered and everything else, but which is a good thing. That's not a bad thing. But it's funny how life throws a lot at you. When you want to do one thing, it has other ideas. See, look at this lovely blue. That is just gorgeous. And I'll probably make that in there some yellow. So I've got a foundation going on that, and I think I'm going to stop here, and then I'll be coming back at the end. And so you won't notice that the time has gone by. Hopefully it'll be like a time warp. But there we go for now. That's what I've got. And so it looks very rough, as you can see. And it'll probably look rough when you come back too, but it's a lot of fun. So I hope you'll join me. See how it's chafing some of this index card, even there, the water chafes it, but that's okay. It adds texture in my mind. All right, so I'll go off camera for a little bit. I'll be right back. Now I've got two index cards that are very similar, and I'd added some covering to them that is merely dictionary paper or an old German hymnal that I had that was deteriorating, and I've been cutting it up because it was turning to dust. So what I did is where the one I showed you that I was coloring on, as you noticed, it was chafing, and so I put some of this over the top. And then I used gesso. It just happened to be this heavy gesso, but I would have rather actually had regular. But this is what I came up with. It's the first thing I could grab. So I used my finger and I put it on there. I'm going to show you how I did that. And I just cut generally the size. And so these are very small because they are index cards and they're only 4 by 6. So like for this one right here, I see that it's kind of an arch. I just hold the paper over it, and it takes a little talent to make a mushroom on top of a mushroom, like that. Okay, now that I've done that, I'm going to actually just cut that little piece out. And sometimes I just cut it bigger so that I can clip it down a little bit. But now if you hold it on there, you'll see the sides still need to be clipped down. So I'm going to clip them a bit. So I'm going to have all these, my mother was German, and which is where I'm sure this hymnal came from. But she would say, you're getting schnipsels all over the place. And that was the little pieces of paper when I do paper crafting when I was young. I did not know it was called paper crafting back then. I don't think we called it anything. Anyway, I'm almost done with this mushroom. Just going to give it a bit of a twist there now, and this is just to demonstrate. I'm not going to do all of them. It takes a long time, and we've got a long video already. So I'm just putting some glue on it. Yes, I tend to use, this one has seemed to be the best for me. Everybody likes their own, but this is Elmer's Craft Bond. So that's what I'm using. Let's see if I turn on. Let's see if that gives us a little more light. Okay, and now I'm just going to lay that on top of that mushroom, just to give you an idea of how I do it. I take the gesso, stick my finger in it, and just put a tiny bit over the top, wiping it off. And then I expect it's going to dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish one of these cards for you in front of your very eyes. And that way at least you can be sure I actually did it. I did not do it electronically on the iPad, but I did use the iPad the way I think that it's used the best, since I'm not supposed to be doing digital art and I'm not supposed to be using watercolor paper. I am trying to abide by all the rules. Now I'm taking out my Caran d'Ache watercolor pencils, and I'm going to give these mushrooms some different colors. I like to use the different colors in this. To me, it's fun if you add more than one color and you can see them blending. And I tend to do it right around the edge. And again, I don't go all over with the color. I just do maybe around the lines. And you can see how the water has washed out that color a bit. I'll do some cheeks. When I used my little watercolor brush, this right here is a wonderful little thing. So here's an example. You can see it mutes it a little bit, although I did very, very soft colors in the back. And now I'm doing them a little more heavy-handed. So this is going to be a bit brighter. But even then you can see that it doesn't take a lot of the watercolor pencil. You don't have to fill in the whole thing when you're doing it this way. It's really not necessary. Now you can see how I'm going outside the lines. I don't care because I'm going to go over that with ink and it'll be a lot of fun. I'm going to keep going with this. Maybe make some cheeks here. Make them just a little heavier and on this blue house on the bottom. And then perhaps this is the flagstone. I'm going to put in here the initials or the acronym for ICAD, which is ICAD. I'm not sure if that gesso's dry, but I'm going to just go for it. It's working just fine. See, Carolyn, I have learned a lot from you, my friend Carolyn Doobie. She's taught me, don't wait for things to dry, just go for it and hope for the best. Okay, now I'm doing this flagstone. But the watercolor pencils, they are a bit muted, so, you know, it depends. You can have it as heavy as you want on there. I tend to like it more pastel. That's just my style. I enjoy that. So I think we need a little more of a darker green. And again, I do it right at the junctions where the stems meet. Now that's interesting right there. I don't know if that's chafed from erasures or water or what, but it's got a very different kind of a feel to it. And so you'll notice that when you start using watercolor. It's just, on these index cards, they're just not meant for a lot of water. But that's what we've got, and that's what we're doing. And by golly, we're going to stick to it. I've got to get the pieces of paper off that little guy. Okay, and then this house, I want to make him a little bit darker. It's easier to go back in and add the dark than it is to make it lighter again. Although you can use gesso and do it some other ways. And so it depends. Sometimes I do all the coloring and then I add the water. Sometimes I like to add the water as I go. It just depends on how I'm feeling. Mostly, I don't want to be the same way ever, twice in a row. Okay, I talked about putting some yellow. And then I'm going to have to add a face on this one because it's not, there is no face there. And maybe brighten up the sun a bit. It's just not looking very bright. So I'm adding more pressure to the pencil, and that is helping. The mushrooms, I want them to be a bit of a beige right there, but I'm going to add yellow to brighten things up. So you'll notice that. And I did use a hole punch to make those centers. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. We don't want to be predictable. That's just no fun at all. And you're probably in there going, I can hear you on the other end going, don't forget that spot. Don't forget that spot. But you see it's a bit haphazard. I just don't mind. I really don't. It is fun. And the worst time I have is putting all the colored pencils back where they go. So I'll fix that after the video because they are not in the right place at this point. Oh, I need that. I'm not wild about where I put her lips. I'll probably give her an overall orange. And that takes care of that problem. Okay, I do need a house on that guy. I don't have a house yet. And there is one color that I'd really like to use more pink again. So I'm going to, and yes, pink sometimes clashes if you don't like it, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm even going to do it with something you might think would clash with it. So there's a pretty heavy hand on that. And while I'm at it, I'm going to make this roof there. And then we're just about ready. And remembering that I can always go back and add details later. So look at that. That roof really stands out. But that's all right. I'm scrubbing around, giving some of the color to these other roofs so that they all blend together. Okay, now, I like that purple in the smoke. That is wonderful. So I'm going to brighten that up a bit. So I think the trick would be probably don't use as much water as I do, and then you won't have the chafing that I do if you don't want it. I'm going to give them all, purple eyes. And I'm using that little mono eraser. I don't know if that's going to do well erasing colored pencil. Yeah, it worked pretty well. So if you don't want him to have purple eyes. So I'm going to start at the top and just go around. Add just a tiny touches of water to blend. And I think we're done. And I'm going to call that a day as far as the colors. I could make the grass a little bit darker, but for now I'm going to stop because I do have other things I need to get moving on, like making the very first index card for today for this 61-day challenge. Okay, I don't want to use a heat gun because that'll just add to the problem. So the first thing I'm going to do is maybe make a little face. And I think I make those pretty haphazardly as well. There. And of course, then I clog up my Micron pen a lot of times. And so I like to make more than one line because then you can never figure out where the mistake was, hopefully. And it gives it more interest, I think. Lots of texture, and I'll be doing dots, you'll see. Lots of dots. Yeah, this size 01 micron does very well with it does just the right amount of dots that I like. And I like to add little swirlies. All of this distracts from any problems I have in the drawing. A lot of inking going on, fun. And so now with that paper we've got down, that gives it a tremendous amount of texture, which is what I'm aiming for. Okay, let's start on the roof. And I think we're just about done with this little welcome card. So I do hope you will join me and do this index card today because it's so fun. And I love to go back and see the years past where I've done 61 cards every year using, I like to use the prompts. I don't know. It's just very cool to me. I have a hard time understanding why people don't, but to each their own. It's very challenging, and I like to make a story out of it. I have a couple books on Amazon right now, Amazon.com, with these cards. If you want to see them, I think they're reasonably priced. Let me know what you think. If you have any ideas for any books you want to see me do, I'd love to hear it, but I'm planning on doing more like this, very similar. Okay, and there go the dots again. This guy is sort of a mushroom, so we'll add things there. And then when you see the Procreate version, oh my gosh, what a difference. It's quite perfect. Quite a perfect drawing. But I just want everyone to enjoy themselves with this challenge and to experience the creativity, the magical way that it helps you get away from sometimes what's a crazy reality. Even if you got a good reality going on, sometimes it's just good to escape. It's a bit like meditation in my mind. In my mind. Almost done. Yeah, the sun sometimes takes the longest because I do all those rays around him. And you can see how this thing is starting to buckle on me. But that's the beauty. A lot of buckling going on. No two cards ever alike, even the two that I'm doing that look the same right now to you. By the time I'm done, they're going to be so different. They'll have the same theme, of course, but they will be different. Here we're doing the stem of this flower. Love doing the little tendrils. That is so fun to me. You know what I forgot, though? I forgot to add leaves to my flowers, which is very strange. I don't normally forget that. So I'm putting some leaves in there, and then I'll be using the pencils on top of them. So I'd be curious to know what you all think of any kind of challenges. Have you done challenges like this where there's, you know, you do it for certain amounts of time? There's a 100-day challenge that people are doing. I am curious to know how people get along with this. I'll bring this in a little closer. And so the only thing I think I have left is the, I'm going to color those leaves in a minute, but right here I'm going to write iCAD 2020. So first, I'm going to go around these stones so that they're double lined. Doubly lined. Now nothing fancy here, C, A, D, iCAD for index card a day, 2, 0, 2, 0. Yay. Okay, and again, I'm going to double line the bottom here, maybe even add a few little blades of grass going up. Oh my gosh, yeah. And so this, the length of this video shows you exactly how long it takes me to do these cards. It takes a lot longer than I think it does. But a lot of times I'll do it over a period of the whole day. I'm not sitting and doing it at one time. I do a little bit at one moment, you know, a little before dinner, a little after dinner, I don't sleep real good, and so this is my way around that. My way of dealing with not a lot of sleep. There. Better than laying in bed trying to figure out how to solve the world's problems. Oh, I like that. So I love the way that the Caran d'Ache colored pencils blend. They blend about the best of any I've seen. I also like Inktense, so I have different colored pencils, but I really enjoy Caran d'Ache a lot. My brother swears by them. He's an excellent artist, although he's it's hard to get him to do some beautiful art, but boy, I sure enjoy seeing it when he does it. So he's got a couple things going on right now, and he just takes a little longer to do things than I do, and he makes bigger items. Almost looks like the ink ran right there, so it might not have been completely dry. I think the only thing I can think of is making a little bit of light green on the tops of these leaves. And you'll see, again, this is my demonstration on how to color. I don't color the entire leaf. I just color along the line. I don't like that completely, like I'm not so wild about that, but I may use a white pen and go over it once it's completely dry, just to lighten it up. That's the way that I deal with those kinds of things. Oh yes, okay, well, there's so much more I could do, but since this is a challenge where we're going to be doing 61 cards, I'm not going to spend any more time. Try to limit it to maybe an hour a day when I do these. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Let me know if you're joining iCAD. And in general, you know, what you like about art. Does it help take you away from the craziness in the world, or help you to think about it more? What do you think? And there's both of them, a beginning and a later one. My finger is nicely messed up with the gesso. Yay. Thanks again, everyone. And I'll be very buzzy till my next video. Talk to you soon. Bye.